NATO is having meetings in Chicago, obviously, over the last couple of days. There have been a lot of protests. There was a great protest by a nurses union that wanted to point out the fact that we're not funding healthcare, but instead we're funding the deaths of so many in our endless wars in Afghanistan, our drone strikes in Yemen, the war in Iraq that took so long, et cetera, et cetera. And they're trying to put the focus back onto actually saving people's lives. Call them crazy, or perhaps call them nurses. Tom Morello was at that. And then we had a really interesting protest by veterans and thousands of protesters on Saturday. And the veterans were turning in their medals, and some were throwing them away, saying, hey, you know, we were duped. We thought that this was an act of heroism, but in reality, unfortunately, it's just endless wars that don't help anybody. And Jeremy Scahill of The Nation magazine had a terrific article a couple of months back on Yemen on how the more we bomb in Yemen, the more enemy we create. And in fact, the leaders of Yemen get paid based on fighting terrorism. So they also have the incentive to make sure that there is continuing terrorism in their country so they can go to the US and go pay me more. So this is how the cycle of violence continues. That is what's being protested. Now, there were some unfortunate protesters too. The anarchists drive me crazy. Go ahead and yell at me, anarchists. But I don't think you really do anybody any favors. But the great majority of the protests were incredibly peaceful. And of course, the Chicago police came in after the veterans and smashed some heads anyway. The stormtrooper outfits are a nice touch as they act like them. And at least 5 people were arrested. And so, you know, this crushing of dissent and protest in the country continues. I'm glad we still have a First Amendment. All right, so what was happening inside the NATO talks? Well, the U.S. was desperately trying to convince the rest of the NATO alliance to stay in Afghanistan. Now, here's the problem that the NATO alliance has, which is most of the countries there, all the countries, are democratic. And the people of their countries don't want to be in Afghanistan. Why? Because they're absolutely right. It doesn't do any good. It's a giant waste of time, money, and our lives, let alone Afghan lives. So in France, for example, Francois Hollande just won, kicked out Sarkozy, who was in favor of Afghanistan. They said, hey, we're withdrawing by the end of the year. See, you wouldn't want to be you. So now, of course, our generals, President Obama, et cetera, all have to say, no, Afghanistan's awesome. Let's stay for so much longer. And they're trying to work out a deal. Now, I'm amused by some of the quotes here. General Allen, who's in charge of the NATO troops, John Allen, said, the alliance was unified behind a vision of a future after 2014, in which we have ended our combat role. The Afghan war, as we understand it, is over, but our commitment to friendship and partnership with Afghanistan continues. I love the Orwellian terms. No, the war is ended, but our friendship and partnership with Afghanistan continues for another 10 years. Okay, and how will we show our friendship and partnership? By dropping bombs on their heads. Okay, that is our friendship and partnership. Of course, that helps the corrupt government of Afghanistan stay in power, so they consider it a great act of friendship when we kill people with drone strikes, etc. But General John Allen continues. We still have a lot of work to do, of course, and there will be great challenges ahead. The loss of life continues in Afghanistan. There will be hard days ahead, but we're confident that we are on the right track. Now, let me ask you guys, how many times have you heard this nonsense about Afghanistan and Iraq? We're on the right track. Oh, of course, there'll be difficult days ahead because they know we're not actually on the right track and there's going to be a lot of death going forward and a tremendous amount of violence. But don't worry, we're on the right track. No, we were never on the right track in Iraq. We're not on the right track in Afghanistan. We weren't on the right track 4 years ago. We aren't on the right track now. So they assure us that, no, look. At the minute the Afghan troops are trained, then everything's going to be all right. Here's another quote from a senior NATO diplomat. The Afghans are definitely not ready to take over. This is a very dangerous situation. Now, but wait a minute. You tell me that you've been training Afghan forces for over 10 years now. When are they going to be ready? If you can't train them in 10 years, what gives me the confidence that you can train them in the next 2 years, let alone in the next 10 years. If you couldn't train them in 10 years, they're not trainable because they don't want to be trained by you. But at every turn, if you asked in year 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, it doesn't matter, they would have told us something. We're on the right track, but they are nowhere near ready. So which one is it? Are we on the right track or they're nowhere near ready? Don't worry, General John Allen says, we are several months ahead of schedule. We're 10 years behind, but several months ahead of schedule. So the big compromise they reached in these meetings was, instead of beginning the withdrawal of most of the troops in the fall of 2013, it will start in the summer of 2013. But our friendship and partnership with Afghanistan will continue until 2024. Absurd. So the final conclusion here from McClatchy newspaper, quote here, as U.S. and NATO forces pull out, analysts also worry about losing the hard-fought gains of more than a decade of war. Well, here's what I would like to ask those analysts. What fucking gains? What have we gained? What have we gained in Afghanistan? Go ahead, make me a list. What have we gained? At every time I ask, they say, oh, no, but you don't understand, Cenk. We're several months ahead of schedule. We're on the right track, and gains are around the corner. Well, I've been around that corner about 28 times now, Iraq and Afghanistan, and I got news for you. There aren't gains around that corner. There's nothing but more violence and death around that corner. So, an entirely useless meeting of NATO that is, in fact, it's not useless, totally counterproductive, and it'll head in the wrong direction, led by the United States of America. Good for us.